All right, we are in Still Wings to Adventure 2 Against the Sea. Pick up where we left off last time. All right. Give me your hand, Janie. The cry came from behind her, thin and high, through the roar of water. Maybe I can pull you up. She turned and reached up to where Myra knelt on the flat rock, holding down her hand. Janie took it and Myra pulled. But Janie was heavier than she, and besides, she too was on the wet rockweed. Myra lost her balance and came sliding over the side beside Janie. Just then a wave came at them, pushing them back against the rock, chilling and choking them. As it withdrew, Janie shouted, "We've got to get out of here, but how?" Myra shook her head, wiping her wet face with her wet hands. Her hair lay, her soaked hair lay flat against her head, and water ran down her nose. Janie looked all around them and saw one rock among the others that didn't look so high and massive as the rest. She pointed to it. "If we can get to that one, maybe we can climb up over it. But if we get off this shelf, we'll be in the undertow, and that's dangerous." She kept glancing out quickly at the next wave as it formed. "But we can't stay here. A real big wave could come in and pull us off this place." Myra's face was very white. Her voice shook. "We can only try." "Then let's brace ourselves for this one, and when it runs back, let's get over to that rock somehow. On hands and knees might be best, everything's so wet and slippery." Myra just had time to nod before the wave came in and covered them with its noise and cold and wet. But they were ready for it and kept their eyes and mouth shut. As soon as it drew back, they slid down off the shelf onto the tumble of smaller, rounding, weed-covered rocks. But before they could make a start, another wave came in. "Hang on to the rockweed," cried Janie, just before the wave broke over them. "Don't let it sweep you away." But for the open water was just a little below them. They clung to the tough rockweed and went on hands and knees to the rock Janie had pointed out. It was still too high for one girl alone. "One of us will have to push the other up," gasped Jamie, wiping her wet hair out of her eyes. "But if I push you up first, you can't pull me up afterwards. So I guess you'll have to just push me up, if you can." Myra nodded quickly, her pale lips pressed close together. She was shivering. "You scared?" Janie asked. Myra nodded again. "Aren't you?" "Yes, I guess I am," Janie said truthfully. "I never got into anything like this before." She wouldn't let herself think that they might not get out of it. Another wave came in. Without thinking, they both turned their backs on it and faced the rock, clutching the strong, rubbery rockweed. "I've got to climb it." Jenny clenched her teeth. "You push me now. Don't let me fall back." "I don't know if I can." "Sure you can," said Janie, heartily, more heartily than she felt. "Here I go." She jumped upward and grabbed handfuls of shaggy rockweed, and Myra seized her feet and pushed her upward with all her strength. Jenny scrambled on her stomach and her knees until she was on top of the rock. Then she wiggled around and reached down with both hands to Myra. "Hang on to me," she shouted against the roar of another oncoming wave. "Come right up on your knees." Myra grasped one of Janie's hands and held on, just as an incoming wave drenched her and then withdrew. "Come on," Janie cried, and tugged with all her might while Myra inched herself up on her knees, as she had seen Janie do. After what seemed a year, both girls were on top of the rock, and the waves rushed in below, battering at the ledge and showering the girls with spray, but they were safe from its strength. They lay still, panting, listening to the roar of the surf, feeling the rush of wind, staring up the blue, sunlit sky. They didn't speak for a little while, but Janie knew what must be said. She couldn't keep it in. "I was kind of mad when I saw you a little while back, but I'm not mad now. I'm glad you came." "I didn't do anything," Myra said. "Oh, yes, you did. If you hadn't boosted me, I'd never have gotten to the top of this rock. We'd both be down there yet and maybe get pulled off by the undertow." Myra stared at her with big eyes. Were you really scared, Janie? I was more scared than you think I was, Janie said truthfully. Only I didn't want to think about it. She stood up, now feeling the discomfort of her soaked clothes. I guess we'd better go home and change. If we hurry, we can come back and get a lot of wood picked before it's dark. Myra got up and climbed over the dry rocks to the grassy bank. While they hurried homeward through the spruce trees, Jenny realized she would never be angry at Myra again, no matter what happened. You know something, Janie? Myra asked. No, what? Asked Janie. I'm glad you said you were scared. Janie stopped and stared at her. Why? I never thought you'd be scared of anything. You made me feel so foolish. You know so much about picking wood, and you can handle a boat and do so many things. Her cheeks were very pink, but her eyes were steady. All I know is how to do housework. So if you hadn't been scared this afternoon, and I was scared, I guess it would have been just the last straw. But now I don't feel so foolish about being stupid in other ways. You're not stupid, Jenny objected. You made me feel kind of foolish too, with my mother bragging about how you like to sew and do housework. I just do it because it has to be done, and I know I should do it better. But I just can't keep my mind on it. But you know how to do things in the house and outdoors too, argued Myra, and I don't. Oh, you'll learn, Jenny said gaily. If you stay on this island long enough, you'll learn to be a real islander. Everything will work out fine. Myra's lips turned up in a shy but happy smile. Jenny smiled too. And here it was, the wonderful feeling she had expected to have when she first tried to make friends with Myra. Life's like that sometimes. You get swept in and emergencies happen and stuff happens, and you just have to, sometimes you have to have help, and that's okay. Daddy's learning that lesson, and I'm very proud of you guys. I love you. Sweet dreams.